So we are live now.
Welcome.
Welcome everyone. So
hello guys. How are you?
Depend where you are. It's night, as you can see James' window.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good
Seba
whatever.
is almost good afternoon. So hello everyone. First, welcome everyone. It's nice to kind of see you guys again. It's just we're doing the live show now, so I can see people in real life. So it's
nice
been
to feel
great.
Your presence.
Yeah, it's nice to feel. And we've just been talking to Seba a little bit earlier because we always do the YouTube, and for you, it's just been like seeing us on the YouTube and now having a normal conversation.
Yeah. I think I'm getting used to it, but at the beginning it was like I'm on YouTube. I don't know, it felt weird.
Yeah.
You know,
interactive YouTube.
So as you guys, we're gonna have Seba Curi or Curi. How do you pronounce?
Depends on the country, but yeah, Curi is fine.
Yeah, so we have Seba Curi. I'm gonna, as we're talking just before, I'm gonna share a screen quickly before we jump into that, just to show you a little bit, because we're gonna talk about Seba works in a little bit, but I'm gonna share. Well, I don't even remember how to fucking share the screen, man. Found big button here. As you can see how good we are. So I'm gonna share. So basically, this is a Seba website. We're gonna share in the link after, you guys can check. But it's a different body of work. Normally, we bring people that's a lomo animation or VFX, like directors. But Seba is being like with quite a range body of work, let's say like that. And I think in the last couple of years, few years, he got really well known for the illustration. As soon as I start scrolling here, you guys gonna recognize quite a few things as well. So we're gonna share the website after, but just to give you guys a little taste of what we're gonna be talking, who we're talking now. If you don't know his work, I doubt that. Okay, but we share the website after, you guys. James, if we can share on the chat, so people can see when we're talking to you as well.
Yep.
So let's introduce you properly. So we have Seba today. Seba is in LA. And I'm gonna let you introduce yourself properly. What you really do. Because
I always get this. Yeah. It's hard to explain, and it's been always like this for me. I'm just very curious. So once I get some kind of business going on some kind of like industry, I start something different on the side just because fun, and then maybe that gets a bit of traction, and then it's like, what do you do? Like what is happening with you? You were supposed to be an animator, and now you're an illustrator. Now we do quite a lot of prints and paintings at the studio, and I get the same again. So I think it's gonna be always like this. Before, when I was like a teenager, I started doing post-production, video edition, 3D animation, rendering. So it was always kind of the same. So right now, I would say that I do quite a lot of illustrations. I draw for a living. I think that's the umbrella. Draw for a living. And I should try to keep it interesting. It is hard in this industry sometimes. The commercial side, it asks you, that you repeat yourself a lot, and that's where you get successful, and it gets very, very productive, but then maybe for your creative soul or something, like you feel that you're losing. So I always try to do something on the side that maybe I'm not that good, or I completely suck. So when I was an animator, I started doing some design on the side, and then I studied that, and then like I always keep like bringing like a second thing, like something to bounce. Right now it's illustration, and I want to say fine art or something like that. I paint now, and I do prints, and that's what is giving me excitement right now. But before, I remember that I was like 2D animation, or at some point it was like Octane and like rendering. I don't know, Nuke at some point. I don't know, like sometimes it depends on where I'm at. That I need to bounce to a different thing. Drawing with pen and pencil, like with paper and pencil is something that I really like. Keeps changing.
Go ahead, James.
I was just wondering, with your painting, is it a similar style to your illustrations, where it's like nice bold colors and shapes, or is it completely different, or you just experimented between everything?
Yeah. So what happened? Yeah, maybe this thing of having a style. It's a bit new maybe for me, because before, as an animator, you could have a style, and I used to have a style in animation, but it's hard to recognize. To be truthful, normal people doesn't recognize animation style anywhere. I think it's really hard just to understand. It's very abstract.
Yeah, it's quite a niche.
Maybe we could say, okay, yeah, I get what you're doing, and this guy is different, but maybe normal people doesn't get it. And then from visual side, when I started doing illustration, I got recognized a bit for that. So I tried to create a universe around that style, and it kind of, I think it built up, and right now I have like this character language that I use a lot, the colors that I use a lot. I don't know, there are a bunch of stuff. The hands, I do the hands, but it keeps us spreading. And I think that's kind of like, it's fun to me, to see how elastic it is. And I do stuff, sometimes they seem unrelated to the language, to this universe. Keep working, and they're like, oh, wait, there is a link here. And I try to make it stronger. And I think that's what's happening with painting. Sometimes you start very far and then you get closer. I suppose that at some point everything is gonna be the same.
There'll always be a common thread. If it's from the same mind, there's always a common thread. No matter what, no matter how difficult it is to see, there's always like some kind of weird cohesion.
Yeah.
You can always tell it's from the same mind.
There is a I think it's very modern, the way that we look at style, nowadays. We see them. I think we really use a marketing, optics to define art. At least from the place that I come from. I'm a graphic designer. I work a lot in advertising, in, I don't know, like the same industry that motion graphics. So all the time I get that my style is a character-driven, joyful thing, and I think that's because of my portfolio. It has an intention, and the intention is that one, to be very concise and correct with that. But if you see what I do is more broad, and I think it will happen with any person, really. You should do a lot of stuff, and I think we decide to make a cut, to give it shape and to define something that is very direct, very clear, and that's how everyone see yourself in the industry. Yeah. My painting, I think, is a bit farther than that. The prints, I think, they're a bit more sophisticated or like abstract, elegant, you could say. I don't know, there are a lot of words that you could use. Also, the character style, the language that I work with, it became really popular over the last 7 years or 10 years. These kind of stuff that it could be even seen as a corporate thing, but I suppose it's how brands connect with me, and how I get jobs, and then they get these. I don't know, I do a drawing, and they put Apple on top. Okay, so that's an Apple thing, and now it's corporate. Yeah. It was a drawing, So I don't know, illustration can be really weird, because you do drawings and then brands come and they get them and they use them, and sometimes the brands are so big that that's how people actually knows my work, because of some brand that put it there online, whatever, on the streets. But I usually try to be very protective of my work, and I don't know, I try to create this universe, and this universe is all mine. That's how I like to think about it.
It's quite sorry, Thiago, you go first.
Yeah, just looking at your work, sure, I follow your work for years, and I'm looking where you're going, and I can see you doing more and more illustration. do you feel you're going more on the direction, and is it something you're thinking about, you know, like maybe just do animation for fun, stop working as animator, but just focus more on the illustration side?
It's you know, I think at the beginning I was trying to be successful, you know, as a teenager, you know, like, and financially successful, you know, to get a job, be able to pay bills. And in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, you know, the way that I could do that was to work in motion graphics. So my thing was to do 3D renderings, 2D animation, like a 3D, 2D generalist, something like that, you know. And my whole background, my career, you will say, was towards that position. But then at some point, I was able to pay bills, you know, and I was able to decide what I would like to do, and kind of like created a problem, you know. I didn't want to replicate stuff and to, I don't know, to follow briefs. I wanted to do something for me, you know. I wanted to find something that looked like myself, and that's kind of weird, because you have to explore a lot, you have to work a lot with images. And I think that's how I got into illustration, because it started to look like me. It was very exciting because I didn't know anything about drawing. I don't know, it was this very far-fetched idea, you know, to be an illustrator. If you're, you know, like an After Effects animator or like a 3D,
it feels like the opposite.
It's very far. Yeah. It's like too, I don't know. It feels very hard. So I just tried to do that, you know, like it was cool. I like to draw, so I started drawing. And it became, slowly but surely, it became my career. Right now I do quite a lot of illustration, and I really like that the work that I do, it's always about this personal work that I have, you know. Is that it's always based on this universe, it's always based on the stuff that I do, and I have a lot of control. I don't do any projects that are outside that, so it's always this way of communicating, you know. It's these tools, it's these gestures, and I love it. Almost without, I think, acknowledge it, the industry also changes, you know. Animation moves to a speed, and it has routines, you know. It has habits, it has places, it has ways of working. Illustration is very different. You could choose one on another one. I can compare because I work on, I have worked with, on both. You know, illustration has this kind of like author. I don't know how to say it. Like, you know, like you could have a language and you could be perceived as that, and you could do that. As an animator, that's really hard to do. There are some people that are doing it, but it's like, dude, you are super talented. It's incredible what you have. In illustration, I think it's easier to do that. It's an industry that it goes slower. I'm getting older also, you know.
Like I think with illustration, it's a bit more instant as well. Like with animation, obviously it takes a while and you're locked away for a bit whilst you create something. Whereas I think with illustration, I mean, obviously it's down to the talent of the person as well. That's not to take away from the talent of the person.
For sure, on the style, you know, it is on my style that is very simple. I don't know. I just love everything about it. You know, like the way that I can create work. I create more work. It's way broader. The clients are more chill, you know. I don't know, you know, it really depends. It's not that corporate. I can run it as a studio. The studio is just me, you know. If I will have to do animation as a studio, I will need, you know, like people, and I like it like this, you know. I'm a chill person. I'm very relaxed, so I like to come in different hours, different days. It's just something a bit more organic and not that stiff. And
it's nice.
It would be impossible to run an animation studio like I'm running my studio now.
It's nice to fit it around, like you know, your lifestyle in a way where, you know, some people work better in the evenings, some people work better in the mornings. It's just when it, like with anything creative, it's when you feel inspired that you do the best work, and it's nice that you have a bit more leeway for when you are inspired to create, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know, hours, you know, I am an early person, so I come early at the studio, but there are some weeks that I want to come in the afternoon, you know. And I still come in the morning, but I know that I'm gonna work harder in the afternoon or the reverse stuff. I don't know. I think, you know, it's just a change of pace is very healthy. If you stick to, let's say that you are, I don't know, early bird, you know, and you work 9 to 6, but you know, the first hours of the day are great. I don't know if you will do 20 years of that. I can't.
Yeah, no,
I will do a week of that, and then I would change it. And I think,
and it's really funny. It's not funny, but it's really nice you saying about that, because, you know, like, I've been in the industry, it's about 23 years now. So I come from, so I come from a generation where, you know, we never had that, as I think the industry changed so much where, you know, even having the studio now, I know people sometimes not gonna work as hard in the morning. You know, you need to be more flexible when you come to creative things. You know, in the past it used to be, you work, you know, I don't know, 8 to 5 or 9 to
8 to 8.
6. You know, and you expect people to 8 to 8 or 8 to midnight. You know, in the past, but you expect people to produce on that time. It doesn't mean you know, creative wise, sometimes you need your own zone. You know,
I feel these are the things, you know, that we don't choose. You know, you choose, I don't know, like you choose motion graphics, you know, like I love animation, I'm gonna do design animation, this is cool. And then you start working in a studio, or you are a freelance, you know, you have these positions that are very established, you know, and there are places to fit on the industry. Illustration gave me this side, you know, road that I found, and I absolutely love it. Maybe also, you know, because I'm an animator, you know, I have worked in studios for 12 years, 15 years, something like that, you know, small, big studios, different countries. And I felt that, you know, the industry changes, you know, like United States has an industry, Europe, I think it has a different industry, Latin America has a very different industry. They connect, they resemble, but every studio, you know, it's a different way to do things. And I think when I realized that, and I connect that with my illustration thing, I was like, I think I want to try to create a space for me, you know, like fits me. And I think this is the best that I did so far. You know, I feel great with this stuff. I love how I work right now. The other versions of me, they were also professional. You know, I will be there at 9 up to whatever hour I have to be, you know, and be professional and deliver. But this version of me feels more sustainable, you know.
Do you think you have more creative freedom as well? Do you think you produce more, like having this freedom now on your own space?
Well, I don't know, you know. I think maybe it depends on the studio you work with. You know, when I was working in Latin America, or maybe the people that you work with. When I was in Latin America, we always had to make something exceptional, you know, something that it will look exceptional for us, right? Exceptional to put outside and create a beautiful portfolio. So you will try to do the extra. I don't know, you will finish a project for the client and you will have a director's cut version or something. When I went freelance, I did the same. Working in the United States, I don't know, I work at Bach, for example, and we will never do a director's cut. Never, you know, but you work a lot on feedback, you know, like feedback is really the service that you provide, maybe client, you know, in-house, a lot of that stuff. You work a lot. I don't know if the production looks like you work a lot. Sometimes, you know, the project doesn't require, I don't know, I feel at some point if you work 8 to 10 years in the industry, maybe more, you get really good. So at some point with a couple hours, you do some magic and you create something beautiful. Sometimes you don't need that, you know, sometimes you need something that is proper, the client wants that, and you do it in like 2 hours, and then you have the whole day. And I don't know, I think it messes with your productivity because you have to be there. Right now, I don't know if I produce a lot. I think I do quite a lot of work. I'm happy with the amount of work that I put outside. I'm just one guy also, you know. So
with eight arms.
Yeah. But it's more about, maybe it's not about productivity, it's maybe about lifestyle, you know, and it connects. I'm happy, you know, I'm doing the paintings, I'm related to my illustration work, and I'm doing the illustration work. So I can do more than that, you know, actually. sometimes I do the prints on the side. I have a couple side things right now, but it's really hard just to put outside more. So I don't know if I'm more productive. I'm more happy.
That's
I think
good.
being
Yeah.
more happy is probably more important, to be honest.
Yeah.
Different ways of seeing productivity, you know. Also, I cook more.
Hey,
Watch
there
out.
you go.
I do more exercise.
Cookbook on the way.
I also put, you know, a lot of stuff outside, you know, like commercial projects. I try to put, I don't know, like I think we do. My wife does the administration stuff. He helps me, you know, with all the accounting side, all the stuff, and I think we do like 30 to 40, maybe 50 projects a year. For me, that sounds like
Perfect.
a lot. It's like yeah.
I was just thinking with the lifestyle aspect of it, did that influence you to you know, like move to California or move to other places in the world? Because from an outsider's perspective, the Californian lifestyle, whether it's right or wrong, is meant to be quite chilled out, you know, beaches and bit more chill compared to, like, say, the hustle and bustle of like New York or London or what have you.
It's I thought the same at the beginning, you know.
Yeah. But now there's the real view.
It depends where you live. I think I'm from Buenos Aires, and Buenos Aires is this place where it's kind of like Latino, but also European.
Yeah.
Every place, you know, is different. I think the branding that LA has, it's all about, like this hippie vibe, California, sunshine, surf. You know, you could understand, we work on this stuff, you know, so you could understand what kind of ideas are related to California. Then you go to LA, and the real thing is that it's just different, you know. It doesn't resemble that. You could brand LA as a creative city, just full of actors and designers, whatever. But it's not like that, you know. It's just like, it's more complex than that. It's way more broad. And you have that, and then you have all the stuff. My experience is that I used to work a lot in Buenos Aires, and at some point I got like a really nice lifestyle working in animation. Coming to United States, that meant starting from scratch. Even you know, like with my career and awards and all that stuff, I had to start from scratch. And for me, California is a work place. I didn't find any chill, relaxing, I don't know, mood here. It's very expensive, you know. That's the thing. Maybe if you're a millionaire, it could be very chill. But
so what was
What
what was the attraction to go from Buenos Aires down to LA then? What took you to America?
Work. I love to work. I'm very passionate. Don't get me wrong, you know, this is my studio and my house is way smaller. I spend all my time here. Yeah. I work quite a lot. I think I got here because I was working, I was a freelance. I was doing 3D, 2D stuff, directing some stuff for studios there, doing some projects for small freelance projects, you know, from Europe or from United States. And I wanted to freelance with Buck, and like I sent emails to every studio. And Buck sent me a proposal, you know, like, hey, we don't want to freelance with you, but then maybe we could talk about you coming here to LA and having an animator position. And
cool.
For a person in Buenos Aires, you know, that is working in motion graphics, Buck could be, you know, like the biggest studio, you know, like a dream job or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I felt like that at that moment. And I talked with my wife. We were like, okay, wow, what if we move? I was studying graphic design at that point. And we made a huge change. We came in 2016. Yeah. It was great, you know, like an adventure. It changed my life. Now I do illustration. Like this is crazy for me. You know, I live a life that is really hard to imagine from the person that I was. You know, kind of weird.
It's nice that you made it as well, you know, in terms of, you know, this was my goal to make like a nice lifestyle, nice work, and you know, you made that happen yourself. That's quite a, you know, it's quite an aspirational thing.
Even for me, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. Yeah, I think, you know, I don't know. It's just like the way that I work. Maybe being an immigrant, you know, you start comparing stuff. Just maybe jumping studios. You know, you work in a studio, you jump to the other one, you start comparing. Hey, the other studio, I think I don't know how many, but I think I work in like 10 or more studios, and in different positions, because I was like a video assistant, then post-producer, then like 3D guy, then 2D animator, then like illustrator, then like, and you know, like it's very different, director. So I think all that comparing, at some point I was like, hey, I think, you know, I don't have any solutions within this industry. I need to do something else. But I exercise quite a lot this thing of getting a new skill, you know, like illustration. Okay, you know, let me animation, you know, 2D, 3D, whatever, you know. I think the technical side of it is not that hard, and it gets easier if you do it a lot. So
so the first 10,000 hours.
Those 10,000, yeah, that's crazy, right? 10,000. I suppose we all have like.
That's what they say, don't they? To learn a new skill, like 10,000 hours before you're good at it, something like that.
It's always hard, you know. It's uphill, but I think it's all related. You know, it's all related. The older you get, the easier it gets. When I started doing illustration maybe 5 years ago or something like that, I didn't know how to draw. You know, I'm not like a drawer. I wasn't a drawer, not even as a kid. So, but it got really fast. I don't know. Like I knew design. I knew animation. I was working at Buck, later at Giant Ant. So I had like a lot of people around me that was doing that stuff, and I think it gets really easy once you just start.
It's nice to hear that, because, and especially I think for young generation working, you know, in the industry, you know, because this is a massive shift. You never, you know, like we normally tended to think, you know, who draws, you know, like been drawing since kids and everything. And hearing you saying, it's quite like a surprise in the same way, because, you know, you well know for your illustrations as well, you know. So you know, it's a massive jump, you know, for someone.
I think it's nobody tells you. I feel nobody tells you, and I feel even today, you know, we were talking about me sharing a reel, you know, and like, hey, Seb, let's share a reel, because I have a lot of animation work, and I have like a career in animation, and I think we are told there are kind of like paths that you could follow, you know, and you could follow them, but then you could also jump to the other path, and that's weird, and that's weird. It's gonna be weird for everyone, you know. It happened to me, you know, that I had to explain that I was good doing 2D animation. So I was like, hey, I can do this After Effects thing. I think I'm not the best one, you know, but I think I can do the task. Let me try to do that. And then they have like a C4D with bitrate stuff, and I was like, I can do that, you know. That's actually the thing that I do. Let me try to do that. I got older and I was like, hey, you know, can I do some illustration work maybe on the side? Because I actually am more excited about that stuff. But I can also do the 2D and the 3D and the rendering, you know, and the shading and the illustration. And at some point they're like, no, like, you know, like too many hats. What is
too many hats?
You know, like the master of none. You're a master of none. And I think I am a master of none, you know, but I think I'm good at all those.
I think this is a big,
I don't know, it depends, you know.
Big thing that comes from South America. No, I think for me, coming from Brazil as well, in the past, you needed to learn a bit of
survival instinct.
Oh yeah, it was a requirement. Yeah, for sure.
And also nowadays you can follow one path, especially American and Europe. You know, you can follow one path. I think South America changed quite a lot through the years, but in the past you didn't have an option for that. You need to do a little bit of everything to be able to join the
Is that location, or is that just because of the time period? Because I feel like, you know, London was like that, Europe was like that, and then
I think it's time of period, you know. I think it's time
so.
of period. I think changed a lot. You can see like studios in
And it's
Brazil.
easier.
You can see
It's
in
easier
Argentina as
nowadays
well.
to, you know, to try different things as well. Whereas before, you know, it'd be cost prohibitive via through software or hardware or whatever. You know, I think it's a bit easier nowadays to change hats.
Yeah. Right now, you know, I wouldn't know what to say actually. I think, you know, it depends on the person. At some point, if you specialize a lot, you lose some kind of you stop discovering stuff. You know, it's really hard to learn new stuff. So your work it loses excitement. You know, you go to work, you know what you're gonna do. And that's boring for everyone, you know. Even more, you know, like the people that gets to work in this creative industry, you know, I feel they always want to have this passion around this excitement, you know, and it's just hard to go with that intention to work. So for me, I always had this intention, but at some point I was too specialized and I was like, I need a different thing. So instead of trying to specialize even more, I will like start. Yeah, I will shift. Yeah.
Do you
And talk about the. Go ahead.
I was just thinking in terms of, you know, like shifting to different parts of the profession. Do you think now that, you know, you're quite happy with where you are in illustration and lifestyle, it's all great. But do you think in, say, maybe like 5 or 6 years, you'll jump onto something else, like, you know, something else creative, or do you think you're kind of set?
And even just to complete James' question, even talking about you shifting, I want to push the subject as well with Zara. You've been doing a collaboration with Zara. You're still doing your illustration, but you start going to textile as well, no?
Yeah, I think.
Do you think is that shift you always looking for?
Yeah, you never think about this stuff, right?
It's kind of organic as well in a way.
I think it's the way that I'm build it. You know, it's just like I keep changing the position. I suppose my CV will look horrible, you know.
Really long.
It's like, what do you do? Sorry, you know, I start with a sorry always. Sorry, no. You know, I think I tried to look at it from a different perspective. I think I had to come to the studio with this intention. You know, it's like I had to be in. You know, I had to like the project. I had to like the position, circumstances, and what happens is that I think at some point of your career, if you're good at it, you get this possibility. You know, this opportunity to create some kind of like environment around you. It could be a team of people. It could be a place. It could be kind of projects. It could be anything. You know, it could be a salary. For me, it's this a space where I do the illustration. You know, I do like I'm a professional illustrator, you could say, and I have these other different curiosities. You know, I do prints. And I'm really into that. I do these seal screen prints, you know, like I do these editions very regularly. I have my drawing practice, you know, I draw a lot of stuff. Now I'm doing a lot of hands. I'm trying to work with those gestures, you know, and try to create a universe around that. The Sarah thing, I don't know, you know, how, I think it's just, if you put stuff outside, you know, things happens with your work, and the more exposure you get, just more stuff happens. At the beginning, I had to do like a massive short film, put it on Vimeo, and then hopefully motionographer is gonna, you know, something like that from Buenos Aires. I don't know. It was impossible. Right now, I do like a cat drawing on my iPad, put it there, Sarah collection. You know, I don't know. It's just weird. It's the same.
We have more voice nowadays than, because it's what you say. You know, like, who remembers, you know, like the old times of motionography, you know, like to be a motionographer was the, like, used to be like the big thing, used to be like the hot shit stuff. And nowadays, it just don't feel like you need the portals anymore, you know. It's nice to have a place, but people, I think Instagram opened, you know, the doors in such a way, like people just put work there, and if you're good, and if you start creating that little community,
it's shifted a little bit. Like it is, I think it is easier to get your work out there, but you still need some, I hate that term, but influencer in one way, shape or another. to help even more so.
It's just eyes, you know. If you ask me, more eyes to see. You know, part of creating stuff is putting that stuff out there and trying to get people to see that stuff. You know, it's just how it works. You know, I do something. Hey, look at this. You know, maybe first it was like a coworker. Hey, you know, like I did this illustration. What do you think? It's cool, not cool. You know, like you try to get some affirmation around that. Yeah. Right now, and I started doing this Instagram thing. I think always, you know, like the window always changes. We have 30s, 40s, you know, like we can say motionographer. I'm sure that previous to motionographer was something, I don't know, because I'm 36. But then after, I think
we use the mograph.net, but no email.
Mograph.net. I don't know. But then Behance, I think, you know, kind of like had that. He created that space. Instagram, you know, social media. I don't know what's gonna be next. I keep doing stuff, you know. It's I don't know, at some point everything has to be fit on a 1:1 proportion square, you know, crop. I don't know, you know, I think videos were hard to put on places that weren't Vimeo. Now reels are a thing, so 9:16. I don't know. I think we
too many formats, man. Too many formats.
Maybe before it was churches. You know, you had to go to a church and paint something to put people there.
Muriel.
I don't try to make a fuss around that. You know, I know that I'm gonna have to work with new channels or whatever. I try to put stuff here at the studio that look nice. I don't know, like I don't know how NFTs are going, but last year NFTs were like the next thing, so everyone was like, we have to get an NFTs because this is the next thing, and I think we're always gonna try to run with a new stuff. I think that's part of our career, the thing that we chose. I'm just doing stuff and then try to present them in the best way that I can on Instagram, Behance, the website, the Tumblr, the, you know, like Twitter, whatever, you know, like Vimeo, whatever, you know, like YouTube. I don't know what's gonna be next, but I just do my work. I think it has some value. I would love you to see it. I'm like, hey, this is on Instagram, you know, like, do you like it? And if nobody sees on Instagram, maybe I'm gonna post it on Tumblr and say, hey, are you using Tumblr or like Twitter? What are you using? You know, TikTok, fucking TikTok. You know, I'm gonna put it on TikTok. It's I don't have a problem with that.
It's nice what you're saying, because this is something I think we need less nowadays, but it's people like when freelance, you know, like I've been thinking it's more hard and hard to find people sometimes because people don't put the work out there, you know, like when you're too busy and people start.
That's true.
And it's nice what you're saying, because you know, more you put out there, more people will see your work and more people will know your work, you know, different platforms and everything. And I think we lost a little bit of that, you know, like with all the amount of people on the Instagram now, it's just too much.
It's a lot of pressure. I don't know, the problem with social media is like there's too much out there.
It's overwhelming for sure.
Yeah, and then
I think it was overwhelming before. We were younger.
You feel pressure, don't you? You feel pressure to put more work out. Oh, you need to put out like a couple of pieces per week to stay, you know, relevant to the algorithm, all that kind of crap, and it just becomes too much.
You know, for me, it's a good conversation. I think portfolio, you know, biggest tool that a studio can have. You know, it actually starts there, you know, with your portfolio. You know, I wasn't friends of anybody, come from like a small country, didn't have the skills. I was the worst ever. But I think my portfolio kept changing. And now I have a portfolio that it looks nice. I love it, you know. And some people could say, hey, good portfolio. You have a good portfolio set. You did it, you know. And I think that drives clients or people that wants to collaborate with me, you know. And I enjoy collaborating with them because they like my stuff. I'm gonna do the same stuff. I think that's key. Personal work, you know, it's like I feel, you know, it's like a second portfolio. To me, way more important than my first portfolio, because that portfolio is kind of like the experimental stuff. It's where the cool stuff happens, you know. And then I put stuff out there And I think, I don't know, like the Sarah collection, this clothing collection that I did, I think it became a thing because I did a lot of personal work unrelated to the animation stuff. Of course, they don't know about Buck, Giant Ant, and all the studios that I have worked with. They don't know about animation, but they didn't know also about my illustration stuff. They were like, we don't know. We like your hands, these prints that you have. We love them. I think they can be a collection. We like this cool cat, you know, the yellow cat that I did. We like these drawings. I think they have, you know, an iconic. They're poignant, whatever. We want to make a collection with you. And I think, and all the work that they chose was my personal work. And I think when I started doing illustration, it happened the same. I think I got the email from Buck because I did like a weird logo animation, like I don't know, like a funky, you know, vectory animation, very snappy, that kind of animation. Personal work. I think, you know, the personal work, it just gives you this opportunity to really control everything and say, okay, this is me. This is what
show
I
your
can
voice.
do. You know,
Yeah.
It's just you. I don't know. Like I feel that leads the stuff that you're gonna do. You know, it informs the production that you're gonna do with clients. It's like, hey, I want to do this, and the client comes in, it's like, hey, let's do that, and then, hey, I want to do this, and I feel that's very healthy. It's overwhelming because everyone is doing it, right? So you could see Instagram and you could keep scrolling forever. And the older you get, I think the harder it gets, you know, because you are better, but your taste is better, and the stuff that you have to do has to be better. It has to be better than your older portfolio. So it gets really tricky. But I don't know. I try to keep it fresh. You know, I try to change industries. I think is the easiest way to do that. You know, bring a language and put it in a different place. It's been done forever, and I think it works. You know.
Just thinking with regards to Zara and also kind of like large brands like we mentioned earlier, how is it not a little bit tricky, like when a large brand, when you work for a large brand and it gets a ton of exposure, like how do you still keep your work, I don't know, looking fresh and you know, not kind of repeating yourself?
Well, it's not lineal, for sure, and I repeat myself, for sure. But who doesn't, right?
No, of course.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. When I came to United States, you know, I think I was very naive about the industry. I started reading a lot about illustrators. I don't know, like Milton Glaser was a huge thing, so I bought a bunch of books. If you can read them, they are kind of great because I bought them and I bought like these books they're about like how the industry works, like how I don't remember the title of this MoGraph book, kind of like freelance manual or something like that. But that stuff and Milton Glaser books talk about the same thing. You know, it's how to navigate the industry and what you want to do. You have some kind of like curiosity, you have some kind of like creative goal, but also you're working on an industry. It's a business. You have to make money. How you're perceived. I think it's all connected to the same thing. I repeat myself because it's the only way that people get recognized. You know, it's just too overwhelming out there. If I do 100 things, nobody's gonna understand what I'm doing. So you have to do one thing for a long time, a lot. Volume is key, you know, and that becomes language. So it's just the repetition of it. It becomes language. It doesn't have to be good. It's just you do the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, same thing. You're the thing, the same thing, you know. And if you get a project, then you are the owner of that thing. You know, like sometimes, you know, I get like some people send me drawings of hands and they're like, hey, watch out, this guy stealing from you. I'm like, dude, he's drawing hands. So, you know, like I'm not the owner of characters smiling and hands, you know, and I feel we maybe have to be chill about that and understand how we work as an industry, you know. We all repeat ourselves and I think it's really hard to create something original. It's just the modification of something else. The modification is more relevant, you know. It is important that you, I don't know, bring something from the past and
It's
redo
almost,
it and put it in this format, you know.
it's almost like
I don't know.
it's almost like the modern art world or whatever, you know, where or like Banksy, for example, where you take something and you put a spin on it, or you put another idea in there to make it your own.
Yeah, I love Baxi. I think you know, I think if you are very knowledgeable, it is, you know, you start seeing inspiration or references. You know, you could see like,
Definitely, yeah.
hey, actually, this guy, he saw this other work, you know, and sometimes these new works are too close to the original. Sometimes the twist is genius, you know, it's like so clever that you're like, wow, that's amazing. I think with Banks it happens a lot. I think remixing is fine, you know, I love remixing. I don't have a problem with that. I think it creates value, you know.
Yeah,
If you do this, I don't know, like I love Kanye West. He keeps, you know, remixing, sampling stuff. I think the new stuff is cooler. I wouldn't get to the old stuff if it wasn't for him. In our industry, there are a lot motion graphics. You know, it's all based on the last 100 years of graphic design that we had.
Yeah, it is.
But we maybe didn't know, or I don't know. I wasn't a graphic designer when I started doing motion graphics, so everything was new to me. I remember, you know, this commercial with photos, Vans commercial, old school. You remember stop motion photos? It
yeah,
will
yeah.
just less
Yeah,
too soon. Couple years ago, I really got into David Hockney, and I was like, "Whoa, this is David Hockney!" You know, like they. I didn't know, and I think, you know, it happens a lot with people that doesn't go to school. I went to school, but I had to go to Bach, and then I don't know, it stopped there.
Well, Buck was
But
your
I
school.
think Bach was my school too. So I think, you know, there is something about transforming stuff, changing, I don't know, recreating, remixing, whatever, you know, word you want to put it. That is interesting, that has value, and we need it as an industry, you know, to move forward. We're not making original stuff, you know. It would be too weird to, I don't know, it would be, I don't know, I don't know, to talk about music. Maybe, you know, if you listen Björk, you know, or music like it's a bit weird. Maybe it's too weird, you know, for everyone. So we need the mainstream
variety.
thing, the universal thing. Yeah, and it's interesting, and I think it brings value. Yeah.
And also, our industry is quite a new industry as well. You know, we can see it's being recycled over and over again. You know, it's not like you know, we have hundreds of years. You know, it's not like a paint, you know, where people study for years. You know, study light. So our industry is still quite really a young industry, and you can see that the last 10 years changed so fast. You know, in style, in technique, especially with technology, you know. We're talking about 3D before. Nowadays, you know, people, you know, like my time, you need to work in a studio to be able to work on 3D. You need to be able to use the machine. Nowadays, we just work on the computers. You know, laptop can handle even. So it's tools is not like the problem anymore. So the speed that the thing is changing now is so fast, you know, and it's a lot of talent. You just see people coming from everywhere.
You know, I think the technical requirements to create some work in 3D are huge. I think that it got easier with the years. I remember working with all I don't want to say old people. I'm bad with sometimes my English, you know, gets, but you know, old school people that have like 40 years or something, and they work in 3D maybe from the beginning, whatever, you know, like doing triangles, no quads, you know, that kind of stuff. And you could understand how hard it was to do that. I studied, you know, with Grayscale Gorilla, YouTube tutorials, stuff like that. You know, Andrew Kramer. That was my school for technical stuff, and I learned with that and working with people. And I think it was easier. And nowadays, I think it should be easier than that. You know, you have a School of Motion. You have a lot of, you know, like websites that you could go. You have, I think the software maybe is easier. I think it gets easier. I think it's not about the technical stuff though. I don't know.
It's about the idea,
I think it's about the idea. But it is always technical. You know, you need the technical to put the work out there, even if it's like paper and crayons. You know, you need to know how to use paper and crayons. Photoshop, whatever, Illustrator, whatever software you use.
True.
But yeah, I think it is something that you have to control at some point, and better you like it, right? Because you have to get those 10,000 hours. I think how many 10,000 hours? How many days are? Because I think we did more than 10,000 hours.
I haven't prepared the maths.
I'm bad with maths, but yeah, if you have 20 years in the industry, I think 10,000 hours are past, right?
It's about 45 days. So.
Solid days though, like no sleep.
Solid days.
Yeah. So,
no, we did it. If you work in motion graphics,
that's the normal.
It prepares you for the industry. It's fine.
You do it on the first year, right? Yeah. Yeah. How many tutorials at night? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. We have one question for. Sorry if I pronounce the name wrong. Eski. Is asking back in what we were talking about when you moved to the US. How did it affect your change countries for work? Did you struggle at first during the transition, in the transition process you had in the beginning, or do you feel was quite pretty smooth when you moved from
moving countries?
Yeah,
from Argentina. It is always how can I say it? It is life changing. It is.
But for the work, it didn't really affect you before, Of course, it's a massive change of language and culture.
And the places that I don't know. I used to work at small studios in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is I think it's a small industry compared to maybe Europe or United States. You could have, I don't know, like 20 top-notch studios, let's say. Once you work on 2 or 3, people moves around. You work with a lot of people there. Everyone kind of like knows you, and you have worked with hopefully the best one. If you move to a place like Buck doesn't work with United States people. You go there and it's like 90% immigrants, all handpicked, and then 10 Americans. That's it, So I think it's kind of like an elite work that you get the opportunity to work with, and everyone is really good, and it's very competitive, super competitive. So I think if you're up to, you do the work, you grow. I grew a lot. And moving countries, speaking a different language, working with different studios, it's always, like a challenge. It's not comfortable. It's stressful. It's unhealthy. It's, like you name it. It's wrong. But you get better. You get better. Yeah. You get better. And I think if you are very ambitious and it's a thing that you are pursuing, at some point I was pursuing a career, in animation, and I wanted to be the best. So I think
do you feel that you had like just pushing the subject a little bit? Do you feel, because like for me, I've been in London 20 years now. Culture, like work-wise culture, is a lot different than Brazil and assume the whole South America. Like
we're similar.
We're pretty similar. Did you felt that was really hard? Because I don't know, for me it wasn't even hard. I think it was even easier. I think because we quite
you found it easier.
I found easier work. England is easier, man. 6 o'clock, everyone in the pub. In Brazil, 6 o'clock people start working.
That would be amazing. That's nice.
But I had a moment like when I work. Me and James, we used to freelance with Nickelodeon for years, and I had one situation I need to deliver a job in Nickelodeon, and I stay until 2-3 a.m. there, and like 8 a.m. I was back on Nickelodeon and on the computer, and the manager came to me and said, what is going on? And I said, why? She said, I had the HR come to my neck and say, you've been here until 3 a.m. because the security came and said, what the fuck are you doing here? And then you're back at 8 a.m. I said, yeah, I need to deliver the job. She said, this is a kid's channel.
Crazy.
We changed the deadline. I said, I never heard that in my whole life.
I have to say, like Nickelodeon were quite good with finishing at 6 o'clock. I think they look after their staff in terms of your work like 9 till 6.
I think all TV channels here, no.
Yeah.
So I felt that really easier, not easier, but culture wise, you had more respect and people value more your work.
Well, yeah, I think you will find hard workers everywhere. I think maybe the person that moves to a different country is pursuing something bigger, and you have that willing. You are willing to go further. For sure. Yeah, that's what happens because I don't know. At some point I wanted to move. You're just different, dude. It's just someone comes. I saw people coming to Buck and saying like, I don't know what is this. What's the big deal with Buck? What? It's a studio. And I was like, dude, I have worked in like 12 studios or something. I have 2 careers on top. I have 10 years working my ass tutorial. I do like everything here. I can do C4, I do all this stuff. And I love the opportunity that they gave me. I'm like so happy to have this tiny salary here and be able to work. And maybe the other person, they don't get it. They don't get it. They're LA based. They studied. Someone picked them, like, hey, you're a great intern. Come here, work a year, get a salary. And I feel we are pursuing something. We study the studios, we study the work. We are trying to make something of ourselves, and I think that's why maybe we are different. But I think it's not something from Latin America. I saw people from everywhere working really hard. I think also I said like perpetuating the idea of these like long hours, crunch time is not healthy for real. How many of us had health problems? How many of us remember that project? I also did Nickelodeon projects. Well, whatever brand, sorry for Nickelodeon, great. But like this crazy hour project that you have to hit the deadline, and for some reason you couldn't, and then someone asked something, and then it goes to, I don't know, you have to stay there at 2 a.m.
I feel like half the time it's not even the animator or the illustrator's fault. We're just at the end of the chain.
Oh no,
it's someone else.
It's not about that.
It is.
Oh, change this, this, and this. I'm off to the pub now. Bye.
Well, sometimes it is. Like I sometimes you are the junior that does something wrong. But I don't know. I think it is nicer when right now I'm one person studio, so I couldn't do this. At bigger studios for like and I think it's not something that it is doable. I tried. To have these conversations on big studios. And I think just the whole pipeline works differently. It's a different business. It just connects different with the industry. So you need to deliver a different service. But from this studio, for just myself, I have a conversation with the client and I say, hey, look at me. This is a studio. Just like this guy. I have to have a breakfast, lunch. Sometimes I have a bad day. I can get sick. So what's the deadline? And the deadline is that one. Let's see the scope. I check on all that stuff. I try to keep it interesting, so I try to be responsible. Like I would like to do something cool for this project. It is better for both. If you don't have the time, maybe it's gonna be something proper. But I think I'm not gonna be that excited. You're gonna get the project, gonna approve it, but you're not gonna be that excited. And then you have these conversations that I feel are a bit more real. About the job that we do. Sometimes people doesn't care about the stuff that you do. I really care about the stuff that I do. Every project, you work with me for real. I'm there. You send me something, I'm gonna say stuff. You have to say stuff about the stuff that I send. I think I want to be respectful of your time.
But that's integrity, though.
I think we are creating.
That's integrity.
It's just a way of working. I think the other. I don't want to be mean, I think there are more people that need a job in this industry, and I think that's cool. That's totally cool. Everyone needs a job, and that's cool, and you go, you do some design, animation, you go to at six, you go to the pub. We are happy.
More creative ideas flow.
That's cool, But then if you get some crazy person, like Thiago, that stays at 2 a.m. and does like the impossible, and then he keeps doing it the next day, and then like years pass. I think he gets all my admiration, and I like to be like Thiago. But Thiago, I think, and me, and maybe you, I don't know how you work, but we are a few, and I think we are. It's hard. It's hard to have these kind of conversations on the studios. What if I say, hey, let's start again because this design is not working. I think we should do something exceptional. Let's push it because we are amazing. Everyone at the table is gonna be like, dude, this is fine. This is okay.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon is gonna approve it. It's done. 4 p.m. Let's chill. Instagram. And I think that's also sometimes I think I do that, but most of the time I want my work to be different. I want to do the other stuff. I want to keep it exciting. I think that's my real job is that one. It's not to provide the assets that the client wants. It's just to create a cycle here that it gives me, an excuse to come back to the studio.
Yeah.
Nobody asks you
nice.
once you have. I don't know how it's to have a studio, but I suppose it's really hard to get excited, to go back if you keep doing just the regular stuff. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, it's true, but I think studio, you also have different challenges as well.
Teamwork,
take us time. Yeah,
maybe it's the people.
Manage people as well, bring the studio in different ways. So it's different challenge than you end up learning. They are a challenge. They are fun as a challenge as well. It's hard in the beginning, like when I open, because coming from the creative side, running a studio is a completely different. Like I'm used to do my work, sit there and do my work, and when you have people, it's a lot more hard. But then with time, you get used to that. And it's a challenge. It's a baby that you want to make. Grow and give like different directions.
I think when you maybe it's not seen like this, but you did animation, right? You did some design. You are a studio owner. You switch your career like me. I just did it without the studio. I never.
Thiago went from sushi chef as well. You went from sushi chef to animation.
You did sushi.
I
think
cooking,
we all. Yeah, it's just the way that we thought about this, but we all switch stuff, and I think it's easier. Yeah. I think it's very healthy also. It's a long life, dude. If you're gonna do the same the whole life, I think I will always say just try something different. Maybe you get excited about that and you like it, and just do that.
I think on a related note, is there like what kind of client would you really like to? Sorry, which company would you like to work with that you haven't worked with so far? Who's in your list?
I'm not very big on brands, actually. I work a lot with brands, but I think it's just I don't know when we say, let's say Nike, Nike, but Nike maybe is like I don't know how many employees they have, and maybe I would like to work with 1 or 2. Maybe I'm more like about a people person. I would love to work with some people. For example, I started designing graphic. I studied graphic design because I saw a conference. I saw this guy. He's German and he has a studio called Hort. And he's this. I don't know. To me, he's the most talented person in the world. I would love to work with him. I know his work. I know how he behaves. He did this all beautiful work. And I like I don't remember the German names. Impossible. Between my English, I'm gonna butcher. But this guy, I think he's really cool. At some point, I came to Bach because I wanted to work with animators. I had like this list of animators that were really good. I don't know, like Steve Day, Rasmus Bach, Egg Sawyer, Nicolo Bianchi. Like all the animators at Bach at some point they were like really good. I wanted to work with this illustrator Joana Herrera. That she is also Argentinian, but she did the Facebook illustration board.
We did one.
You did one?
Yeah.
Esteban is really good. I just wanted to work with talented people. Right now I think every brand that comes, with a brief and a chill attitude, I'm cool. If they provide like a time frame, they pay well and they are respectful, I'm all down to collaborate. I just try to create a space, where I could provide ideas that are outside the brief. That's what I usually try to do. You know, if you're open to that, I'm really happy. I'm also a professional, so along that proposal is gonna be the safe proposal that has the stuff that you asked. But but I always do 2 or 3 sketches more that are like, hey, what if, I don't know, like I get, you know, like a ton of character illustrations, and they're all about togetherness, right? Let's say that handshake, you know, let's have a handshake, let's have a high five, let's have a hug, you know, and instead of that, I draw a card, you know, with a bunch of cards on top, and I say, hey, they are cards, friends, whatever, you know. So I'm really bad at brainstorming. This is a very bad idea. Don't do it. But you get the idea, right? Let's say that I get that brief, you know, and I do the other thing, and I think it's cool from the other side to see the intention, you know, like, hey, he did the extra mile, you know. And from my side, I think it's really nice that they are welcoming. You know, they're like, okay, you could do your thing, show us. I think it's valuable. I really like people that wants to work with me. You know, and this is, you know, a lot of motion graphics people is working here. I really don't get, you know, when someone sends you an email asking availability and they don't answer to any kind of a question. You know, like, are you available? Depends on what, you know, what are you doing? You know,
I'm available for hugs.
What kind of project, you know, what do you want to create? You know, what kind of work we're gonna do? I know that the Thailand, you know, the way that they are working, they don't have the time. Stuff is, you know, it's fast, but I think we are losing just like, you know, respect. You know, we're people. You know, I don't get if even, you know, I don't know. I think I deserve some respect because I am older. You know, just like because of the age. I have worked on some studios, some projects, some years. Just hey, like, hey, Seb, we have this project. We want this to do these illustrations. I think you will fit this brief. What about, you know, do you want to do it? And I think those are the emails that I send, you know, like, hey, Thiago, I have this thing that I think it fits your portfolio. I think it's cool. Let's do it. What do you think? Let's talk about money.
Yeah, have more like a conversation, no? It's a mutual respect, you know. I think sometimes
I want to know what I'm getting into. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot as well.
yeah, it's true.
Like one person.
Those are the clients that I love. I didn't want to. I think did I answer the question? You know, like, hey.
No, it does. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry if I didn't answer. Yeah.
No, it's more attitude. If they've got the right attitude, then that's the kind of client you want to work with, and it makes complete sense.
We just passing 1 hour of show. Normally we try to keep on 1 hour, but I just want to push one last subject to talk to you, because we've been talking a lot about you, the studio. Where we gonna see you going? Where are we gonna see the studio going? Do you have do you have a do you have a plan? Do you
Nobody knows.
Expand? Do you want to be like have more people, like you said, you need to have breakfast, that kind of thing. Do you see yourself, because you already have the space, you already have the brand, so where we see you going, man?
I think I really don't know. You know, I think I'm really happy with pursuing something, and that's key for me. Pursuing something, you know, right now it's I would love to do more exhibitions. You know, I think having a space, putting work that is physical, some kind of work, I don't know how it looks, you know, but I started with canvas because I am familiar with planar design, you know, something flat. So I think I can do that. And just create work in a space that is more and more friendly to me. You know, actually, like, more healthy, more time, maybe. I don't know. You know, I think it's more about the environment, the lifestyle that I create around, rather than the kind of work that I'm gonna put. I think they're both like intertwined, and one structures the other, and they inform some way. It will be great, I think, to repeat less myself. I have a very consistent portfolio, as you can know. And that's hard work, you know. I think our industry requires professionals that do that, you know. You have to do, I don't know how many similar projects, you know. I did, I don't know how many, I don't know, I'm bad with numbers, but I did a lot of branding with tech companies. And at some point, I'm like, guy to do tech companies illustration voices, right? Like if you have like
cool.
and I feel to repeat myself a lot will be a lot, you know, because I could put my time in something that is more not that superficial, you know. We work in advertising. The works that we do, they get lost, you know. You don't even remember them. And I would love to create work that stays there. I love the prints that I'm doing, you know. I started just giving them to friends and then selling some, and now I kind of like have a small business around that. It makes them sustainable. So I do these drawings, choose a color, work on the color, work on the paper, print 50 or 100, and you can buy one. And I think those they get to your home and they stay there, and you like them. I like that you have them.
That's nice.
Love that. You know, the project that I did for Apple, I don't know, like in the stores, in the whole world, whatever, you know, 2 billion people saw that. Who remembers that?
Yeah, it's nice that it's got like personal art
and the 3 guys that did it, you know, like nobody remembers any massive project, you know. I really don't think, you know, like we try to create these narratives where like you are the director of the next, put the name, brand, whatever, you know, like release, launch, the whole world is gonna see it, you know, like whatever you choose. And I think that's gonna go out, approve, forget. You know, it's gonna be like, okay, it's done. And then you do a drawing, you know, I don't know if I love the Sarah thing, you know. Some people send me like, hey dude, I got your t-shirt, whatever, or like a print, hey, you know, I got this stuff. I think it's a better way to relate with people, you know. It gets more personal. I remember it.
Yeah, way more personal.
It feels great. It really feels great, you know. I did massive projects, you know, like this Apple, these brands that are worldwide. A lot of people see that, but I think it's kind of weird, you know. It's very weird because you do them, and then at some point they don't even mean anything, you know. How many big brand projects you have to do to the next one, you know, it doesn't mean anything, you know. It's kind of weird. Sorry, my English, you know. But I think something happens, you know. I saw people that was working on these $1 million campaigns for these amazing artists, just like this.
I think with
from my
Apple
Argentinian perspective, you know, was crazy. It was crazy because it was like, I can't believe that this massive project that is impossible to get gets to people that is just they are past, you know. They don't care because they know that it doesn't have a meaning. But then I don't know, you know. I think you have to find meaningful work to make. At the beginning it was that, but
the difference between, like, say, like a big project that everybody sees of Apple and a personal, like a print that you sell to somebody, they'll see it, but with a print they'll kind of feel it. I think that's the difference.
There is some behind it.
It's hard to explain, right?
Yeah,
but I think there is some. We work a lot for advertising and it's very superficial. There is, I think we should have we should find, you know, more meaningful work to keep doing this, you know, because I believe we are all artists, you know. We create stuff. There are really good artists, you know, making stuff for the advertising, and sometimes they just do the cell phone hand style frame, you know. Sometimes they do the banner in like whatever website. Sometimes they do, you know, like this tiny animation, whatever. And I feel they could do something meaningful, you know, like relevant for everyone, you know, like something that you remember. And I think it's really hard to get to that if you just keep paying the bills and keep just making, you know, advertising work that is not yours, you know, like you feel it yourself. I don't know. I would love to do more of that work, you know. I keep doing the projects that we all do, you know, like branding projects. I'm open to commissions. I think all that makes sustainable the studio, but I would love to do more work in the sense of, I don't know, something that I can put there, and 2 years from now I will be like, that painting looks cool, you know, like that. Yeah, something like that. And I have, I think I did, you know, I have a small career in animation, and I have worked with some amazing people, some really talented studios. And from those studios, I couldn't name one. I couldn't name one project really that it is meaningful and we all remember. And I've been there at 2 a.m. I've been there on Saturday and Sunday. I've been there, like morning next time. I've been there, crunch time. But why? That's the thing. What are we doing that? So I think I think the routine that I'm building here is more important. The kind of work that we do is more important. Money always comes. Money is not. I think it's not the key. I think it helps. But it's not the thing to pursue. I would love to get something there. I don't have it though. I have kind of like a half-assed meaningful thing. But I'm trying to find it.
That's nice. I think that's a nice way to finish, man. It's really strong and tells a lot about your personality as well.
Yeah.
And it's really
Thank you guys. Thank you for inviting me. This is a dream.
No, it was a pleasure, man.
Yeah,
it was a pleasure.
Big fan of your work.
To James.
I love the interest.
Thank you, man. We've been talking a lot. We're trying to get. I think for us was because we do the physical show here for what? It's 13 years now, and every 2 months. But the thing is, we always wanted to be able to bring different people as well. But of course, SNE is no profitable.
We can stretch to probably like Spain or France or something.
Yeah, and it's so nice to be able, with the YouTube bring, like different people from everywhere now, almost everywhere, because some places people
still working on Australia and New Zealand. It's a bit too time zone stretch. But
we're gonna get crazy. But you should, I love the interviews. I love see these long format interviews where you could know the people. I remember a ton of yours. And I think they give you an insight. On the other side, there is a lot of people that it's like with me, Buenos Aires, fucking far, like really far from the industry, and you get to see this.
And nowadays you can see that's such the main reason. We keep doing that online as well because it's nice. Is great. But man, thank you so much.
Huge thanks.
I'm gonna see you in 2 weeks anyway. I'll be there visiting you in the studio. Yeah.
Come by.
Pop up or drop you a line later. So guys, so just to give you a heads up before we finish, so we have the next show in London. I don't even remember when it is. Do you remember, James? It's in October.
It's on October. We'll put it online.
Yeah, so it's on the 25th of October. We're gonna announce next week the speaker, and we have the next SNE Drinks in the end of October as well. I think it's 29th is the last Thursday of October. So we're gonna announce on the Instagram and the Facebook. So
and then after that, it's the Christmas show, and I can't believe how quickly this year has gone.
Yeah, man, this year has gone really fast. It's great. Yeah. Cool.
One more.
Seba, thanks so much, man.
Thank you, guys.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks again.
Really nice to know more about you, man. And,
it was really nice to meet you. Yeah.
Guys, thank you everyone, and we see you guys in a month.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
See ya.
So just stop the